Welcome back to the channel. People whispered behind his back. They said he was cursed. Others claimed he had lost his mind. Why else would a man with good looks, stable job, and calm manner marry the one woman in the entire town who screamed at the wind and laughed at trees? But he didn't answer them. He never raised his voice or explained. He simply brought her home, cleaned her up, fed her, dressed her in decent clothes. And every morning, he held her hand like she was his queen. She didn't talk much. Most times, she stared into space, talking to people only she could see. But sometimes, just sometimes, her eyes would clear up, and a soft sadness would wash over her face, like a memory fighting to come back. In those moments, he would smile gently and wipe her tears, as if he understood everything. Neighbors watched from their windows. Children whispered. Old women clicked their tongues. And yet, he acted like their world didn't exist. He took her to the hospital twice a week. Sat beside her in silence. When she screamed, he didn't flinch. When she broke plates, he swept the pieces himself. The house was always neat, always quiet, and always filled with the smell of something cooking. No one knew how they met. Some believed he saw her on the road and took pity. Others swore she was his wife before the madness started. But the truth? Nobody really knew. And he wasn't telling. But one night, something changed. She was sitting outside, barefoot, watching the stars. He knelt beside her, held her face, and said, "Do you remember me now?" She blinked. Then cried. The kind of cry that breaks a heart and mends it at the same time. And for the first time in years, she whispered his name. That night changed everything. She began to speak in short sentences. Just a few words at first. Water. I'm cold. Why am I here? And he would answer softly, like a teacher guiding a child back home. He never rushed her, never raised his voice. Each time she woke from her silence, he was there. Waiting. People started talking more. The stories grew wilder. They said she used to be rich. That she was cursed by a jealous friend. That she ran mad after her child died. Every mouth had a version. But he still said nothing. He focused on bathing her, brushing her hair, feeding her slowly, and singing to her at night when she couldn't sleep. One afternoon, she asked, "Why are you doing all this?" He looked at her, eyes soft but tired. "Because I promised you." Her head tilted. "Promised me what?" He smiled. "That I'd never leave." She blinked and turned her face away. Something inside her stirred, like a door creaking open from inside her chest. The next morning, she washed her own plate. No one clapped. No one made noise. But he noticed. She began to wear her slippers around the house. Started sweeping small corners. Started humming again. Neighbors grew quiet. The ones who used to stare now looked away when he passed. A woman who once warned her children to avoid the Madwoman's house now greeted him with a soft good morning. Still, he said nothing. One evening, as he returned from work, he saw her outside again. Sitting on the same chair. But this time, her hair was packed neatly. Her dress looked clean. Her eyes followed him as he walked through the gate. "Welcome," she said. He paused. Tears welled up. He didn't speak. Just walked slowly to her, knelt again, and held her like something fragile. And from behind a curtain, someone watched, lips trembling. The one person who had kept the secret buried for years. The person who had watched everything begin, and did nothing. The real reason behind her madness. Still hidden. But not for long. The woman behind the curtain was his older sister. She had watched him suffer in silence, and she had said nothing. Not because she didn't care, but because she knew the truth. And the truth was heavy. That night, she couldn't sleep. Memories kept dragging her back. She remembered the wedding, bright, beautiful, filled with joy. The bride was full of laughter, the groom couldn't stop staring. But behind all that joy, a storm had already started. One that would swallow the bride whole. A week after the wedding, the bride had gone to confront someone. Alone. She never told them what happened that day. But when she returned, her eyes were different. She looked frightened, confused. Then slowly, her mind began to slip. The family tried everything. Pastors. Hospitals. Herbalists. Nothing worked. And when their parents couldn't take it anymore, they wanted to send her away. Hide her. Erase her. But he refused. He held her hand and said, "She's still my wife." People begged him. Threatened him. Even mocked him. He didn't change. He married her again in silence. No crowd. No noise. Just the two of them in a small living room, with a Bible and a quiet "I still do." Now, years later, she was healing. And the one person who knew the trigger. Still silent. But silence doesn't last forever. The sister stepped out of the house that evening, her heart pounding. The couple sat outside again. She was peeling oranges, carefully. He was watching her like it was the most important thing in the world. "I need to talk to both of you," the sister said, voice shaking. The woman looked up. Her face was calmer now, clearer. The fog wasn't fully gone, but it had thinned. The men nodded. And the sister sat on the floor beside them. "I have something to confess. Something I should have said a long time ago." She looked at the woman. "The day you lost your mind, it wasn't your fault." The woman blinked. "What happened that day?" The sister swallowed hard. "It was me. I brought her into your life. I let her in. And I didn't know what she'd do." Her hands froze. The orange slipped from her fingers and rolled across the ground. She stared at the woman kneeling before her, the same woman who used to comb her hair, call her sister, and help her tie her wrapper when her hand shook. What do you mean you brought her in?" Her voice was low, fragile. The sister looked up, tears rolling freely now. "You remember Adiz? The one who used to visit, the one that always smiled too much." Her eyes narrowed. "My friend." The sister nodded slowly. "She wasn't your friend." Everything inside her went still. It was like something cracked behind her ears, and a faint ringing started again. "She came to your shop that day," the sister continued. "I knew she didn't like you. I even overheard her one time saying she would destroy your joy. But I thought it was just jealousy, small talk. I didn't think she meant it." The man said nothing. His eyes were fixed on his wife. She wasn't speaking. She was just breathing deeply, lips trembling. "She gave you something to drink," the sister whispered. "And you started seeing things. You screamed. You ran into the street." Silence sat between them like smoke. "Why didn't you tell me?" the wife asked. "I was afraid. I didn't know how to explain. And when you lost your mind, I blamed myself. I watched you turn into someone else. And every day, he cared for you, and I couldn't even look at him without shame." The man finally spoke. "I knew it wasn't ordinary. But I also knew she would come back." He turned to his wife, gently took her hand. "You're back now. That's all that matters." The wife blinked, then leaned forward and rested her head on his shoulder. For the first time, her body didn't tremble. It rested. But deep in her eyes, Something else returned. Not just memory, anger. Because if Adiz did this to her, then what else had been taken? The sister wiped her tears. There's more. I didn't know how deep it went until last week. They both turned to her. She lowered her head. Adiz is back in town. Her heart stopped for a second. Adiz is back, she whispered. The sister nodded. I saw her with my own eyes. At the market. She looked different, richer. Her hair done, nails long. But it was her. And she saw me too. The woman sat up straight, the weight on her chest turning into a quiet fire. She didn't look scared. She smiled. Like nothing ever happened. Like she didn't steal years from your life. The husband clenched his jaw. Where is she staying? I don't know exactly. But she's been asking questions. She told someone she came back for what's hers. The woman stood up slowly. Not shaky. Not confused. She stood like someone who had woken from a long, terrible dream and suddenly remembered everything. She wanted my life, she said. My shop. My peace. My husband. The sister looked away, guilt all over her face. And she almost got it, the woman continued, her voice clear now. But not again. The man rose too, calm but alert. What are you thinking? I want to see her. He frowned. Are you sure? I need to look her in the face, she said, voice low but steady. I need her to see that I'm no longer the girl she destroyed. The sister stepped forward. Let me come with you. She shook her head. No. This is something I have to do alone. The husband took her hand. Then I'll wait for you. She squeezed his fingers. You already waited long enough. There was silence again, but it wasn't heavy anymore. It was the kind that comes before a storm. She turned back and went inside. A few minutes later, she returned, face washed, hair packed neatly, wearing a clean wrapper and blouse. She looked like the woman she was always meant to be. No more fear. No more confusion. As she stepped out the gate, neighbors watched again, but this time with wonder. Because the madwoman was gone. And in her place was a woman with fire in her eyes. She walked through the market like someone born anew. Traders who once whispered and pointed now stepped aside. Some stared, some nodded quietly, and a few just kept their heads down, pretending not to notice. But she noticed everything. Every corner felt familiar, every scent carried a memory. It had been 3 years since she last stood here with a clear mind. 3 years since the day Adiz came into her shop pretending to care, laughing, hugging, offering that cursed drink with a fake smile. Now she was back, not as a shadow, not as a ghost, but as herself. She asked no questions. She didn't need to. The market had its own mouth. She day stay that yellow house behind the chemist, one woman muttered as she walked past. Another added, she even opened small shop for there now. Selling perfume and jewelry. By the time she reached the yellow house, her heart was thumping, not with fear, but with purpose. She knocked once. Adiz opened the door like she'd been expecting her. A slow smile spread across her face. So, you're awake now. Silence. Adiz stepped aside. Come in. She walked in carefully, eyes scanning the room. It smelled of expensive oils and lies. Adiz poured herself a drink. You look good. Better than before. Still. Silence. Adiz laughed lightly. You're not angry. After all I did. She finally spoke. Why? Adiz took a sip, then leaned back. Because you had everything. The shop, the mun, the respect. I was always in your shadow. She swallowed. So you destroyed me. Adiz shrugged. I slowed you down. But you came back. She stepped closer. I didn't come here for closure. I came to warn you. Adiz raised a brow. I may have lost my mind before. But now, I remember everything. And I'll make sure everyone else remembers too. Adiz's smile faltered. You think I'm still weak, she said. But you forgot, when you take everything from a woman and she survives, she becomes dangerous. She turned to leave. Adiz called out, people still believe I did nothing. She paused. Let's see how long that lasts. Then she walked out, stronger than ever. The news spread faster than fire in Harmattan. By evening, whispers had taken over the street. She's back, oh, the woman Adiz nearly destroyed. Some spoke in awe. Others in guilt. A few, in fear. She didn't say a word to anyone. She just returned home, washed her feet at the entrance like always, and sat quietly with her husband. He looked at her face. Did you get what you needed? She nodded. I saw her. I faced her. And she knows I remember. He exhaled and took her hand. Then that's enough. But it wasn't. Not yet. Because the past wasn't fully buried. That night, she had a dream. She was back in her shop, arranging wares, smiling, wearing the same wrapper from her wedding day. Then Adiz entered, not with poison this time, but with something sharp in her hand. But before she could strike, someone stepped in between them. It was her husband. She woke up sweating. And for the first time in a long time, she felt scared, not for herself, but for him. The next day, they received a letter. No name, no stamp, just dropped under the door. Inside was a photo. A picture from years ago, her and Adiz standing in her old shop, arms around each other. Behind them, in the blurry background, stood her husband, smiling at her. On the back of the photo, one line was written in red ink. You always take what belongs to me. She dropped it like it burned. The sister came into the room, saw the letter, and froze. She's still playing games, she said. But the woman shook her head. She's not playing anymore. She's warning me. The husband walked in and read the note. Then quietly locked the door. No one said anything for a long time. But they all knew. Adiz had come back to finish what she started. This wasn't just about jealousy anymore. It was war. And this time, the woman wasn't broken, she wasn't silent, she was ready. She didn't sleep that night. She sat by the window, eyes fixed on the dark street, listening to every sound. A passing bike. A barking dog. A gate creaking open in the distance. But nothing from Adiz. The letter had shaken her, but not into fear. Into clarity. Her husband tried to get her to rest, but she just whispered, if she wants a fight, I won't blink. By morning, she was already dressed. Hair neatly packed, wrapper firm, slippers steady under her feet. She returned to the market, not to buy, but to reclaim. She walked into her old shop, now run by a younger woman who paused mid-sentence when she saw her. I used to own this shop, she said quietly. The girl stepped aside. She ran her fingers along the shelves, touching old memories. The wall still had her hand-painted patterns beneath the new paint. That's when Adiz entered. Perfume strong. Glasses dark. Smile wide. Back to haunt your past? Adiz asked. No, she replied. Back to collect it. Adiz chuckled. Still dramatic. You sent a photo. Trying to scare me. Adiz shrugged. I'm just reminding you, you took my place. I never took anything. You gave it away the day you chose wickedness over friendship. Adiz's face shifted. You had envy in your heart. I had peace in mine. And even after all you did, I still found my way back. Adiz stepped closer. This is not over. She stared her down. No. It's just beginning. And this time, I'm not alone. I have my mind, my strength, and the truth. She walked past Adiz without flinching. The market had gone silent. Everyone heard. Everyone saw. And when she stepped outside, her husband was already there, waiting. He didn't speak. He just held her hand. Behind them, Adiz stood frozen at the door, mask slipping. She wasn't the one in control anymore. The woman had come full circle, madness behind her, courage ahead. And the battle. Just beginning. The silence didn't last long. By evening, Adiz struck back. A strange man came to their compound with papers in hand. Claimed to be from the Ministry of Health. Said someone had reported the woman as mentally unstable and unfit to live unsupervised. The neighbors gathered quickly. Whispering again. The man asked questions. Took notes. Have you had violent outbursts recently? Are you taking any medication? Do you feel safe living with others? She answered everything calmly. Firmly. Her husband stood beside her the whole time, not saying much, just watching. The official looked confused by the end. Honestly, you don't seem unwell. She smiled politely. I'm not. As the man left, she turned to her husband. She wants to push me back into that hole. He nodded. But we won't let her. They stayed in the house that night, barely speaking. The sister came over with food, her eyes wide with worry. She's playing dirty, the sister said. She wants people to doubt you again. But the woman was calm. Then let them watch me. Let them see for themselves who's still broken. The next morning, she did something bold. She went to the police. Told them everything. About the poison. About the years lost. About the letter. They didn't laugh. They took it down. They even promised to investigate. Adiz's charm was starting to crack. Later that day, someone came to the house, a woman. Young, nervous, eyes darting. She said her name was Neka. Said she used to work for Adiz. She kept something, Neka whispered. A bottle. In a small wooden box. I saw her mixing things once. I thought it was just perfume, but... The woman leaned forward. Can you show me? Neka nodded. But we'll have to go when she's not home. Hope flared. She squeezed the girl's hand. You don't know what this means. Neka looked down. I do. I watched her destroy you. It haunted me. Now, with a witness, and the truth crawling into the light, the tide was turning. And Adiz. She had no idea what was coming. The plan was simple. Wait till Adiz left for her shop. Slip into her compound with Neka. Find the wooden box. Take proof. Leave quietly. But nothing ever goes exactly as planned. That afternoon, the woman wore a plain scarf, tied it low over her face, and followed Neka down the back path. Her heart thumped in her ears, but her hands were steady. She hides the key under a flower pot, Neka whispered as they crept into the compound. The small flat was quiet. Empty. just as they'd hoped. Inside, the room smelled of perfume and secrets. Glass bottles lined the shelves. Framed photos of Adiz posing in front of expensive places. But beneath the bed, in a dusty corner, Neka pointed to a small wooden box. There it was. They pulled it out. Inside, an old folded note, a brown bottle sealed with wax, and a faded photo of the woman and her husband, torn in half. She kept this. The woman whispered. Neka nodded. I think she wanted to remember what she destroyed. She grabbed the box. Suddenly, footsteps. Not just one pair. Multiple. Voices. Adiz's voice. She's here. Someone shouted. They ran. Through the back door, through the alley, clutching the box like a lifeline. They didn't stop till they reached the police station. Everything happened fast. Statements. Fingerprints. Tests on the bottle. The officer in charge returned 2 hours later with a look that said it all. It's laced, he said. Whatever she gave you, this confirms it. The woman sat down slowly. Her breath finally returned to her chest. The husband, standing nearby, pulled her into his arms. Adiz was arrested that night. Neighbors who once laughed in mockery now gathered in silence. Some brought food. Some apologized. A few simply watched, ashamed. But she didn't gloat. She didn't dance. She just stood there, by her gate, holding her husband's hand as they took Adiz away in the back of a van. The woman turned to him. It's over. He smiled. No, it's just beginning. And for the first time in years, peace didn't feel like a memory. It felt like home. The days that followed were quiet, but not empty. People came, old friends, former customers, even strangers who had only heard pieces of the story. Some came to apologize. Others just wanted to see the woman who lost everything and still found her way back. She didn't boast. She didn't retell the story. She simply reopened her shop. Same corner, same shelves, but a different kind of peace inside. Her husband helped repaint the walls. Her sister-in-law stocked the back. Neka, once afraid, now worked as her assistant, always smiling with quiet pride. The first item she sold was a bar of black soap. The woman who bought it held her hand and whispered, "You've given us hope." That night, she stood outside with her husband, both holding cups of warm tea. The moon was out. The stars were bright. The silence was soft. "You never gave up on me," she said, her voice barely louder than the breeze. He looked at her, the same way he had always looked at her, like she was the most important thing in the world. "You never left me," he replied. "Even when you couldn't speak. Even when you didn't remember." She leaned into him. "Do you think she'll come back?" "If she does," he said, "we'll be ready. Together." She nodded. "I don't fear her anymore. I don't fear anything." He smiled. "That's what healing looks like." They stood there a while longer, no words needed. Then the sister came outside with a big brown envelope. "A journalist dropped this earlier," she said. "They want to tell your story." The woman took it, stared at it, then looked up at her husband. He raised a brow. "You want to share it?" She thought for a moment, then smiled. "Yes. But not just the pain. I want them to see the strength. The love. The recovery." He nodded. "Then tell it your way." And in that quiet moment, the woman who was once called mad now became something else. A survivor. A teacher. A voice for others still trapped in silence. And the world would soon hear her.